So what we have here is a selection of Riesling. They're almost all German with one Austrian. And of all the countries that make wine anywhere in the world, Germany, in my opinion, has the most intricate wine law. And the labels are not the only thing to look for. There's actually hints in the capsules themselves. So we'll get into that in a little bit. What I've done is separated these bottles roughly into styles. This is the Kabinett style here, the Spätlese style. These are Grosses Gewächs, Qualitätswein, Ortswein, and Wachau. What's interesting about everything from here over is the style is defined by how much sugar the fruit develops when it's picked. If you ever have gone blackberry picking and noticed that some blackberries are red and they're sour, they're less ripe. The big, round, juicy blackberries are full of sugar and juice. Those are super ripe. Similar thing with wine grapes. And usually the less ripe grapes have less sugar, less potential for alcohol. And that's what we see with the Kabinett style. If the grapes are left on the vine, harvested later, they get the Spätlese designation. Spätlese in German means late harvest. If a Spätlese style is made as a dry wine and it comes from what they consider a Grand Cru level vineyard site, it can be labeled as GG or Grosses Gewächs, roughly great growth. If a similar wine is made but it does not come from the very top quality tier, it might be considered Erstes Gewächs or PC, like Premier Cru, which corresponds roughly to the French Burgundy system of Premier Cru and Grand Cru vineyards. If a wine is made and only indicates the region where it comes from, it might be called Qualitätswein. If it indicates both the region where it comes from, but also the village, but not a specific vineyard, that's Ortswein. And then in the area of Wachau, this is Jungfernlese, which means made in harvest, which means it's kind of a special trip in the vineyard that they made to pick these. And then Steinerhund is the vineyard, Wachau the region, Nikolaev the producer. So that's just an overview. Let's dig a little bit deeper. We see some information on each label. This is the winery name. In this case, Marienburg is the vineyard, Kabinett is the Prädikatswein style, Riesling the grape, 2020, the vintage of harvest. This sticker here means that the bottle was purchased at a German wine auction. There's 3 big auction events that happen every year in different regions of Germany, in Mosel, Rheingau, and elsewhere. I think it might be Pfalz. And we see the auction name here, Grosser Ring, and we see that on these as well. So what that means is these wines were all bought at a special auction, and that's usually where producers have their most special bottlings, is at these German wine auctions. So that's one thing to notice about the sticker. Another is these capsules. You'll see that some have a white or a grayish color or blue, but then some have more of a gold color. We see that here. These are called gold capsules, or GK for short. And this is one way that German producers can highlight this is a special bottling, special edition. And because German wine law is so strict, it doesn't allow for a lot of customization on what can be written on the label. So they use the gold capsule as a little secret code of saying, this is going to be a special bottling for you. And it's just a little secret code. Speaking of secret codes, on every bottle of German wine, there's what's called the AP number. and the AP number has a lot of information in it. It's a little bit like a barcode. And the AP number indicates things such as when the wine was bottled and released. We see the last two digits here of 21 means it was bottled in 2021. That usually is 1 year after the harvest. So 2020, we have AP number ending in 21. 2005 vintage, AP number ends in 06. We have 2017 vintage, and we can guess it's going to be 18 on the AP number, and there we go, 18. The other information talks about the specific lot or vineyard where it came from, and that's all cataloged in detailed German databases. One common question is Riesling always sweet? And that can be hard to know just based on the labels. So that's why we see terms like dry. If you ever see the term Trocken on a Riesling label, that also means dry. But sometimes a wine won't necessarily say dry, such as this one. I don't see either Trocken or dry on the label, but what we do see is the alcohol level of 12%. If you understand the typical alcohol range of German Riesling, it can be as high as 13% or as low as 7.5%. If you ever see German wines with this lower alcohol indication, they're going to have a bit more sweetness. And the higher alcohol usually means a drier style. So with this Nikolaihof from Wachau, we see the 12% alcohol. It's going to be a drier wine. And then for something like this, it's going to be a little bit of a sweeter wine because it's at 8%. A little bit more on the label, and then we'll probably have enough information for today, is the vineyard name. We see Brauneberger Höfer Sonnenuhr on this label. In this case, the village is Braunberg, and the ER means of Braunberg. So the ER is like a possessive. This is the Höfer Sonnenuhr vineyard of Braunberg. And in German, Sonnenuhr is sundial. There's actually a sundial made of rock in the vineyard. Here we go, Kiedricher Grafenberg. In this case, they've left off the ER, but it's the Gräfenberg vineyard of the town Kiedrich. Here's Oberhäuser Brücke. This is the Brücke vineyard of the town Oberhäuser. A little bit more information. We see Alte Reben on this label. That means old vines. So these are older plants in the vineyard. And on this one, Monopolange, this means that Hörecker is entirely owned by this producer von Hövel. We don't see that on Graacher Domprobst because there are many wineries who have parts of Graacher Domprobst. The entire Hörecker vineyard is owned by von Hövel. So that's what Monopolange means. So definitely a lot of information, but the most important part is the taste of the wines. And what you'll notice about all of these Rieslings is they have a really bright, crisp, almost laser tart acidity, sort of like a Sour Patch or sweet tart. And that's often balanced with the really tart wines by some sugar. And by the drier wines, it's balanced by the intensity of the wine. These are delicious food wines. I think especially the dry wines are good with a main course like chicken, beef, duck. And the sweeter wines can be for any type of food. Seafood, can be for vegetables. And we don't have any super sweet dessert styles here. You might see the Auslese or Eiswein or Trockenbeer and Auslese styles. Those are really good with desserts. But these would all be considered good as just savory food wines, even if they have a little bit of sweetness that we'll see in the Spätlese. None of these are dessert wines. They're all great with lunch and dinner foods. And We have a range of ages. So 2005 on the older side, 2005 all the way up to some younger wines. Kind of 2018 is on the youngest end. So you'll see a different expression of aromatics and fruit depending on the age and the style. So if you have any future questions, just don't hesitate to ask, and I hope you have a great tasting.